Now keep in mind that I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my music.
Welcome back to Sound and Color. If you're new here, Sound and Color is a limited visual series where I explore the connection between music and visual art by creating art inspired by playlists that I've curated myself. And we're currently on episode 3 of 4. It's crazy. This whole series will be over in literally a blink of an eye. It's truly been a challenge to come back every time and finish the thing that I started. So this week, I honestly just want to touch on not really feeling it. And when I mean not really feeling it, like creatively, not really feeling like coming to your workstation and creating something, because that's where I've been recently. Spent a lot of time listening to my body, and my body wanted to lay down. So we did that. A whole lot of that, a whole lot of rest, a whole lot of like turning my brain off. I actually have a background as a graphic designer, and I recently left a job where I was required to be creative at a fast pace every single day. So I transitioned from that job, and now I'm a freelancer. And as you'd imagine, it's an adjustment, but the most important thing is to listen to yourself, listen to your body. It is okay to take a break. It is okay to step away. It's hard not to feel some kind of way about it. It's hard not to feel guilty about pushing things back. Social media will have you feeling like you need to be announcing new things all the time, producing big things all the time. And like that's not sustainable or realistic. Take your break. The work will be there when you get back. I assure you, I assure you. The last few lessons that we learned on this series was have confidence. Sometimes you do need to fake it until you make it, because truly the skill is there. You've got what you need, but you just need to believe in yourself. 2 is to finish the shit that you start. It's so important that you finish the work that you start, because you don't know what that outcome is going to be. It's funny that I'm like retelling myself all of these things right now, because truly, as I was putting together this episode, I feel like this might be my most challenging one yet, because I just didn't have the inspiration at all to do it. But this week, because the season has changed, we're in fall, it's also cuffing season. In the spirit of new romance, new Tinder matches, new Bumble matches, I decided to do a playlist that was kind of based on the feeling of like getting to know someone new. That is always my favorite part about like dating and getting to know folks. It's just like, oh, that little spark of excitement, like I'm talking to a new person. I'm getting to know someone new. It's my jam. So this week's theme, we're going with the word blush. It just kind of speaks to that excitement, that feeling of just like someone new. So as far as sounds go, I want to go with a lot of alternative R&B. Gotta say again, this might be the most disjointed episode because it's kind of like all over the place. I was definitely super challenged this week. I thought last week was a challenge because I had this idea in my mind, but the real challenge is when you have to deliver something and you don't have the inspiration to do it. You don't have any direction. Let's see what happens. Come with me on the journey. Voiceover Misha's gonna come in and we'll get into that. So initially, I wanted to do this graphic the way that I did every other graphic, which is really just take a couple of photos and composite them together. But then I came across these busts on Raw Pixel, and there were a few of them. So I took 2 and just worked with what I had. Now, while I can't tell you what I like about this, because I don't like anything about this right now, I'll go over what I don't like. I didn't like how the background was looking, and that kind of discouraged me before I could even start, because I was thinking, oh, this isn't it. This isn't it. It's too on the nose. It's too rosy pink. I hate it so much. And here I am trying to throw a texture on top just to change it up some, make it gray, do something different. Initially, I was going to use this composition the way it is and stack a bunch of roses and flowers all around it, but that did not work out the way I wanted it to. It just felt like a bunch of clutter. So I had to adapt. I had to kind of start over in a way. I had to also step away. Like I said earlier in the video, I had to like lay down and not force it, but come back to it when I was ready, and also not be afraid to kind of start over in a way. Here I am adding in some stuff and just trying to make the statues look a little more aged instead of like this smooth polished finish. And I accomplished that by just throwing a texture on top and changing the blending mode. Super simple. I also think I changed the levels, and maybe I changed the saturation. I can't remember. So here I am adding a bunch of junk into this graphic, adding illustrations of roses and thinking, okay, we got something. I was very committed to the assortment of flowers. I also thought that I could add contrast by adding in water. So I'm like throwing in a photo of a waterfall really quickly to see if that could possibly work. And it's like, no. No. Then I'm like, okay, maybe if I use some blue. It added the contrast that I was looking for, but it just really, this set of flowers just wasn't working. Yeah, this was rough. Watching it back, it just sucks, man. I don't have much nice to say about the process because I cringed the whole time I was working on it, especially here. This is where I knew that I would have to change the composition because it was a mess. It was a disaster. I was trying to do too much. I was trying to load the graphic up with this assortment of flowers, but it just looked awful. I took most of the flowers out, and I kept 2 of the pillars and worked around that. So you'll see soon, like the composition just changes drastically because I realized like what I was doing was not working, and I had to take a minute and just change my approach. Not gonna lie, I did feel a lot of fear while doing this because I thought, oh great, I'm going to I'm going to make something ugly and people are going to judge the ugly thing that I made. And this is a series about me. Like, sure, I will share little nuggets of wisdom when they arrive, because that's important. But honestly, it's about me, and I'm human, and I care a little too much about what folks think. And that honestly is the lesson that I learned while doing this. Fuck what people are gonna think. Just do you. Anyway, here we are at the finished part, adding in my like tags that I used to mark my work. And we're gonna go ahead and jump into the final reveal. You know, I feel like we delivered. It's giving this very delicate paper feel. It's giving like a very, I don't want to say rice paper, but it's just giving that aged, delicate paper feel. Nailed it on the colors. Don't get me wrong. It's giving Doctor Who Don't Blink right now, but it's also beautiful. And it's such a different turn. It's definitely a different deliverable compared to the first 2 installments in this series. This was definitely the hardest challenge in this series. I was trying to stay true to what I've been preaching, which is to see something through. So as much as it really pained me to have my screen recorder on while I was doing this, it was worth it because it's honest. Not all the time do I like come through and deliver and feel like boom, start to finish, I had it. because sometimes my work is very difficult, and I'm sure that other artists can relate. Like sometimes when you go to do something and you have to turn something over, you're not very proud of it. Like I'm proud that I like went through it and got it done, but in comparison to the other work, it's so different. And perhaps that's a good thing. Through that stress and through that uncertainty where you're pushing through, that's where you grow the most, because those challenges, they like shape you and sharpen you and just help you with your skills. So we're gonna take away all good things from this, because granted, it was high-key difficult for me to get through this. Look at the material. It's cute. Honestly, it's the blends for me. It's the blending for me. At the end, when I added that texture on top, I was just like, not sure. But let's go back to episode 1 when I was telling you that I was learning how to deal with filters and lighting in Photoshop. I was able to use those tools from episode 1 here to make that texture work, because it added a lot of dimension that was needed, a lot of texture that was needed, because it was just way too polished. Those statues were just too polished and they needed that texture. It's perfect. It's perfect. I hated it at first, but it's kind of perfect. Challenge done. I knocked that out, and it was a journey. The next challenge is our last challenge, and it's been a long road with this series, but I feel like I've grown so much. We'll get into that when we get into that, because I want to have a real reflective moment about just how the summer treated me and the lessons I'm taking away from it. We'll also go over the fact that I pitched for Adobe. They said no, but definitely one of the more terrifying things that I've done as a creative. We'll get into that. If you're interested in supporting the content that I've created, first of all, easiest way for you to do that is to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I know I'm a broken record, but I know I'm creating content that other folks would enjoy. If you hit the like button, the algorithm will be like, oh, you like this. Let me put it out to other folks who might enjoy it as well. So the second way that you can support this series is to pledge on Patreon. Right now, I am running a pay what you can tier system with pledges starting at $2. We have the Grayscale podcast over there. We have Keeping It Brief, which might be changing up a little bit. And it's also like where I can test things out. We have like secret episodes of Adobe and Chill over there. You might be interested. So I feel like I said that I know what I'm doing for the final episode, and I do, but I have to close the show out the way I do the others and say, see you next time. I don't know what I'm gonna make, but it'll be something. Peace.